You are Locked On Rays, your daily Tampa Bay Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, my name is Kevin Weiss.
I'm Ulises Sambrano.
And we're the host of the Locked On Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you for making Locked On Rays your very first listen every day. And remember, Locked On Rays is free and available on all platforms, including YouTube at Locked On Rays. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Locked On Rays and email us anytime, lockedonrays@gmail.com. Speaking of emails and reaching out to us, it's not quite, our mailbag episode will be tomorrow on Wednesday, but we got a really good point in question from one of our dedicated listeners, R. Hill. It's not Rich Hill, I don't think. I don't know if his first name's Rich, but he goes by R. Hill on Twitter. Nevertheless, he brings up a really interesting topic, which we're going to dive into today. He says, I am a big Cubs fan from way back. Since moving to Tampa, he's not the first person that's made that move from the Midwest to Tampa, by the way. But he says, since moving to Tampa, I have adopted the Rays as my favorite team in the American League. Good question for debate. Can Wander match or exceed Ryne Sandberg's amazing 1984 MVP season stats ever or this season?
What a loaded question that is, Mr. Hill. Thank you so much for writing to us. Man, I think we were very young, too young to have captured Ryne Sandberg's on our memory archives in our brain, correct?
Yeah, it's
Kevin?
unfortunate. I would have been, 5-6 years old by the time he retired. So I definitely was not alive when he had that great 1984 season.
Same here. So, but looking back at not only the Baseball Reference page and Fangraphs and watching some YouTube vids of him, this guy was a dynamic player that I wish I had been able to see. I mean, the quick hands, staying back enough, also putting it to the opposite field. He had pop for a second baseman. In fact, at the time that he retired, he not only had the best fielding percentage for a second baseman, but also had the most home runs for a second baseman at the time of his retirement. Of course, Jeff Kent went on to take that from him. But this was a guy who could steal bags, 250 home runs, 250 stolen bases. He's in the 250 club. Just unreal. I really wish I would have been able to see this guy play live.
What's also funny is that, do you have a guess as to how much Ryne Sandberg made in his career? His
20 mil.
16-year career. That's your guess?
20 mil.
He made, you are not too far off. He made $25 million, give or take, in his career, which I guess when you get to the last season of Wander's contract, that's about what he's going to be making. Right?
In 1 year. Yeah. That's insane. This is what, a 9-time Gold Glove MVP, top five times. Unreal.
Yeah, no, Ryne Sandberg, how you described him, he was the quintessential five-tool player, five-tool middle infield player, which is, as we know, extremely, extremely rare. And looking at that 1984 season, he was 24 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just going to run down the BREF list, and we can react as such. He played 156 games, 700 plate appearances, 636 at-bats, 114 runs, 200 hits, 36 doubles, 19 triples. 19 triples! I did not make a mistake there. 19 homers, 84 RBI, 32 stolen base, 7 caught stealings, 52 walks, 101 strikeouts, 314 batting average, 367 on base percentage, 520 slug, 887 OPS, 140 OPS plus, 331 total bases. He grounded into 7 double plays, was hit by 3 pitches, and that's about everything. Oh yeah, he also, in addition to being MVP, he also won a Silver Slugger and a Gold Glove award, and clearly was an All-Star that year.
Yeah.
And I think, according to BRF, he compiled, if we're talking about WAR, 8.6 WAR in 1984.
Unreal. At 142 WRC plus, 3.6 BSR. So the guy was also doing it around the base paths too. Just according to Fangraphs, he was an 8.0 WAR player. I mean,
Yeah.
this guy had himself a season just tremendous. So let's peel it back with the comparison of, can Wander match these totals? Number one, can he? I think so. I think he has the ceiling for that. I think he's got the talent for that. I wouldn't put this type of season on Wander's shoulders at 21, though.
Right.
I don't
Yes.
think that's happening this year. I think we would be, if Sandberg did it at 24, I think it would be fair to hope for a 24, year for Wander to do that too.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of maturity that needs to happen at the plate, even though Wander is above his age and has always played, better than his peers around his age. But it's a major league, so you've got to you can't expect so much, right, from a 21-year-old.
Right.
But the walk rate was a 7.4%. Wander's has been low at this rate, is around 3.5, hovering as of recording right now. So the walk rate would have to increase double. Can Wander do that? Yes. But who's around Wander in the lineup for him to be walked more?
That's the thing. There's much more to get into on this comparison, and I've got some what I think are interesting points to bring up between Wander and Ryne Sandberg. But first, we have to tell you about BetOnline. BetOnline.net, it is your number one source for all your betting stats and sports info. You can find all the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including this year's basketball playoffs, as well as the start of the MLB season. BetOnline, it is your continued source for all your sport wagering information, from live betting to playoffs, esports, and more. So head over to their website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. BetOnline, it is where the game starts. So, Ulises, getting into a couple things. I'm glad you brought up the point about how Ryne Sandberg was 24 years old when he had that season in 1984, and Wander is only 21. By the way, Ryne made his MLB debut when he was 21 in 1981, and it took him 2.5 years to really become a decent player. Like at age 22, he had a 683 OPS. At age 23, he had a 667 OPS. So let's put that into perspective of how long it took Ryne Sandberg to become Ryne Sandberg and where Wander Franco is right now. Second of all, I know it's not really fair, but I would love to plop Wander Franco in the 1980s and see how he would do. He'd probably bat 350 or 360. He'd be like Tony Gwynn. Let's be honest. What are guys throwing in the 80s?
Yeah, no, I mean, he's facing 93-mile-an-hour sliders that are created in a pitching lab. He's facing a dead ball baseball that doesn't go anywhere. So yeah, that would be kind of fun to see him with the 80s. But regardless, I do think that 1984 season is one for the ages. I mean, you're right. I love that you mentioned that 19 triples. That's not a mistake, folks. That actually led MLB that year. So 19 triples. I want to focus on this one because on our preseason Wander Franco episode, I said the slugging is not going to come from home runs with Wander. It'll be with the doubles and the triples, especially the triples. He had 5 of them last year. So I was really hoping that one would be the way to go for Wander. Now, now he only has 1 triple in this season. So 19 just seems so far and above reachable.
I wonder what the single season record for triples in a season is.
Man,
It's got
I'm
to
gonna look
be
it
up
up right
there.
now.
Like, it can't be more than 25, I would think. That might have to be a trivia question.
Yeah. Let's
But
keep that for a
19's got
trivia
to be up
question.
there, I would think.
It has. I
Who gets
mean,
19 triples in a
19.
season?
That's insane. That's insane. So I don't think Wander could ever do that. So that one's gone. That
Yeah.
one for me is gone. So he's not keeping that with 19 home runs. I think 19 home runs he could do that as quick as next year. I don't think this
Right.
year. I don't think this year.
Yeah, it's funny. I think that multiple things that I don't think Wander will do that Ryne Sandberg did, for better or worse. I don't think Wander will get 19 triples in a season this year or any season, probably. I don't think he'll get 32 stolen bases in a season this year or any season. And I can tell you this, he probably won't strike out more in a season this season or any season. That's really a big difference between Sandberg and Wander is the strikeouts. Not saying that he struck out a ton, but I don't see Wander getting to, unless, Wander has 850 plate appearances in a season or something crazy like that, which is never going to happen. I just don't see 3-digit strikeouts for Wander, but I absolutely do. If we're just looking at the basic line that comes up when you're watching a game on television of
Yeah.
batting average, home runs, OPS, I think Wander could have a season like Ryne did multiple times over. I'm fully expecting him to bat 314 or better multiple years. I'm fully expecting
Yes.
him to have 19 or more home runs multiple years. I'm fully expecting him to have an OPS of 887 or greater multiple years. I fully expect him to get 200 plus hits in a season multiple years. As far as stolen bases, as far as triples, as far as some of those other things, I don't know. But if we're just looking at the basic line, I think he is going to have many, many seasons like the 1984 for Mr. Sandberg.
I think the on base is the one that right now is making me not be so confident. 367. Can Wander get a season where he is having an on base percentage higher than 367? Certainly. I think that's going to happen. But the fact that it's at 309 right now, and I mentioned again, who is that lineup around Wander Franco that is able to provide that for him? You need people around you before you get walked like that. And he likes to swing the bat too. So then that's also another component. Can he get through that? I mean, last year he had a 122 OPS plus, which is amazing, right? Sandberg had a 140 OPS plus that season. So he was 18% better than Wander was already last year.
As a 24-year-old compared to 21 years old.
Exactly. So
in the 80s compared to 2020.
Yeah, so that what I'm saying is he definitely has all the chance in the world to succeed those categories, but it's going to take time. He's 21 years old.
Do you think Wander will have, if we're just talking about WAR, will he have a season that matches or is above 8.6 WAR?
8.6 WAR. I think he can do that in a season.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's coming in the next 2 years. I don't think that's fair. Look at Vladito. How long did it take Vladito to get stuff figured out? 2.5 years.
Yeah. Well, he also didn't necessarily take care of himself off the field as far as diet and nutrition and taking care of his body, which we know Wander does. I mean, he's an absolute tank. I think what gives Wander a little bit of a bump, not saying 8.6 WAR is just ridiculous, but I think that Wander, as good as he already is defensively and getting better at the shortstop position, just that value alone. I mean, what was he, a 3.5 WAR player in 70 games? As a rookie at 20 years old. So I think he could have a 9 more season. It's going to have to be stupid, but I think he can get there and in time. But yeah, it's so funny because I'm glad that R. Hill brought up this question, because I see the 19 home runs. I see the 84 RBIs. I see the 314 batting average. I see the 887 OPS. And to me, that says that's going to be your average Wander Franco year.
Yeah, that's what we hope. That's the likelihood. That's why you're signed to a $182 million contract, right?
Yeah.
Because that's the line expected. I just don't think, and again, maybe I'm being too patient for the fandom's liking, but I think that needs to come with time. I don't think any of those numbers, except for maybe the batting average at 314, which I think we have a prop bet, right, this year of will he hit higher than 310, and we both
I
said
believe
yeah.
so, yeah. As of right now, he's not living up to it, but I think he'll eventually get there.
Right. I mean, he's also going for an 0 for 15 skid right now as we're recording this on Sunday morning. So, he also will go through skids, but that's the only category, I think, batting average that we can expect him to have better or around the same than Ryne Sandberg's 1984 season. Everything else, though, I don't think we should expect an 87 OPS from Wander this season. I don't think we should expect a 140 OPS plus from Wander this season. 19 home runs, 32 stolen bases, like that's a lot.
Yeah, I think again, they're going to Wander will get there in different ways. I mean, if we're just looking at the line from start to finish, that's a lot of different metrics that you have to match. But as far as the big picture stuff, I think that maybe not this year, but I think definitely within the next 2 years,
Yes.
Wander could and should get there, assuming he's able to stay healthy and the hamstrings all right and everything that's tied into that. Maybe what Wander needs is a built bar to get to Sandberg's level.
That's right. And you know what? They've got the Puffs birthday cake flavor, and it is delicious, Kevin. I took your advice. I put them in the fridge, get them a little bit solidified, and boy, they're just so tasty. It's just like a dessert. So you have to try them right now, and you can do so by going to built.com. And when you go to built.com, you're going to use promo code Locked15. That's going to save you 15% off your order for birthday cake puffs Built Bar if you want them. But maybe you're a mint brownie person, maybe you're a coconut almond person. It doesn't matter what kind of person you are, there's a Built Bar for you. So today, go to built.com, use promo code Locked15, and you're going to save 15% off your order at built.com.
Question, just continuing on, you know what, we're probably just going to have to make this the whole episode, is such a great question on the Wander Franco, Ryne Sandberg comparison.
Yeah.
If you stuck Ryne Sandberg in 2022, how well would he do?
I think he would be an above average player, but instead of being, let's say, how much WAR did you say that he had that year? Let me look it up real quick.
8.6 in 1984.
8.6. I think, which is not too shabby, but I think maybe you could cut that by half. A 4 WAR player. He'd still be a really, really good player. I just
he'd be an
feel
all-star.
Yeah, but
sure.
that's because he was so above. I mean, when you're talking a Hall of Famer, you're not even above great. It's just a great. So I think he would still be a really good player. It's just the stuff that they're facing nowadays is just stupid. I mean, they're literally designing pitches in a lab that didn't happen in 1984. Nobody had a 93 mile an hour wipeout slider. They didn't have that when we were growing up, Kevin, which wasn't that long ago, it seems like, but I guess it is in the 90s. There were pitchers that threw 94 and it was like a big deal. It's like, oh, he's got a big time fastball at 94. There are pitchers who have changeups that are 94 mile an hour. Like, it's stupid. There's a kid in I think in Longhorn, Joyce. He's hitting 105 on the regs. 105 mile an hour. That's crazy. So baseball has definitely evolved. It has gone crazy with the speed and the pitches. So I think, yes, when you put it down to the 80s, there's definitely a change, and I don't think Ryne Sandberg would definitely get the same results that he did back then. But that doesn't mean that he's a bad player at all sorts. It just means different times and different pitch mixes or whatever you want to call it.
And again, if he had been exposed to that sort of stuff as a youth, then maybe he would be as, close to as good of a player as he was back then. But I think you take Ryne Sandberg as he was in the 80s and early 90s and stick him in today's game, it'd be like it's like a totally different scenario. It's so funny. I was watching highlights of Ryne Sandberg and the grainy video of the Cubs, and one thought that came to mind was that a guy, just his style of play and the way he looks, that you could plop in the 80s and be like, yeah, he played in the 80s. Joey Wendell. That would be the guy.
You know who I thought of? I know this is a Rays podcast, so excuse me, people, plug your ears a little bit. But he kind of reminded me of DJ LeMahieu when DJ LeMahieu is going great.
Yeah,
like a guy that's got pop, a guy that can take you the other way. He can hit 300. Not stodgy, but not a blaze runner by any means.
right.
A complete baseball player. I think DJ LeMahieu, and also I think DJ LeMahieu would definitely also fit the prototype of a Joey Wendell type player in the 80s. Like you can put DJ LeMahieu in the 80s and you're like, that makes sense.
Yeah. The only thing that I think that, one of the biggest differences besides velocity and the way that guys are throwing nowadays, as far as the 80s and today, is that, maybe players are a little bit more pampered now, as opposed to the 80s where it was just, hey, get up and play, smoke a cigarette and, roll a heater and you're good to go. Like it's not, eat a hot dog before the game, where, they didn't have salt rooms and daily massages and cryotherapy, and they didn't have a mental skills coach, like all that. They weren't on, the fanciest charter flights and staying in the fanciest hotels. It was literally a different ball game in that sense. So you take a guy from today, you take a Wander, somebody, and stick them in the 80s in that environment. They're like, this is backfield baseball. What am I doing here? Like, where's my charter flight or whatever?
Where's my union rep? I need to talk about these working conditions that are not really great. Yeah, you want to go into Wrigley Field in the 80s and go to that dugout in that clubhouse? Woof.
Oh, yeah.
That's not going to be pleasant.
Watching television.
Yeah, no. And they didn't have a night games. By the way, again, we really enjoyed this question, and going back and see grainy video. You actually, if you go to YouTube and you look at some Ryne Sandberg's highlights, you're going to hear Dwayne Stats call a couple of his home runs and plays, and so that should be fun for the Rays listener and watcher to go ahead and see some Ryne Sandbergs and hear Dwayne Stats in the 80s voice.
Man.
Yeah.
Dwayne Stats, Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Right?
100%. Honestly, more than 5,000 games. That's amazing.
That's crazy. Yeah. Has it just been the Cubs and the Rays, or was he with another team?
He did a time with the Astros. He did time with the Yankees. Actually, I think he was the one who was the play-by-play in Jim Abbott's no-hitter for the Yankees at Yankee Stadium. I believe Dwayne Stats did that call. Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah.
He's seen some stuff.
Yeah.
Last thing on this topic, some quick over-unders. Just comparing Ryan's career to what Wander may or may not do. Over under 68 career WAR for Wander Franco.
Okay,
these are all things that Ryne Sandberg did. So we're trying to see if if Wander will surpass them or not.
I'm gonna go with yes, over.
Okay, I also go over. Over under one MVP award.
How many people win 2 MVP awards? Not that many. Miggy Cabrera has 2. Mike Trout has what? 2 or 3?
I think he has 3.
Yeah. So that one, I love Wander. It's a difficult thing to win multiple MVP awards. I'm gonna go just the one.
I'm gonna go over. Over under 7-time Silver Slugger Award winner.
The competition is fierce.
Yeah,
in the shortstop position. Too. So 7 seems quite a handful. I think a really good career is 3 to 5 already. So I'm gonna go with under 7.
I'm gonna go under as well, just because you have more guys with pop that are playing that position as of right now. Bichette, Tatis. I mean, we can go. Well, I mean, it's
Anderson,
American League, but yeah, you get my point.
Bogey, yeah.
Yeah, I'm comparing league wide, but I guess I was thinking about the MVP. But anyway, yeah, I would say under. I feel like it might be more difficult. Well, I don't know. Ryne Sandberg was a second baseman, so I could see where he could really rack up this Silver Slugger awards by hitting, 19 home runs, 22 home runs, and that's the thing with Wander. I don't know if he's ever going to be a perennial 35 homer type of guy, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
Over under 10-time All-Star.
10-time All-Star. He would need to start right now, Wander, in his first full season, 10 times. That's difficult. Again, the position. Again, the market. Where does he play? In Tampa Bay. So Are we really expecting all of MLB fans to put Wander Franco in the fan vote? Are we going to be that crazy to think MLB fandom is going to give a Tampa Bay Rays shortstop the number 10 times? And then you're like, well, Ulises, it can be also as a reserve. How many times is he going through the fan vote? 3 times, 4 times? Then he has to be a reserve for 6, 7 times. I will say under.
I will say over.
Not because hold up. Not because he doesn't deserve to be 10 times. It's just the market that he plays in.
And you also have, I mean, how long is Xander Bogaerts going to be in a Red Sox uniform? Bo Bichette, Tim Anderson. I mean, it kind of goes back to the Silver Slugger thing. But I also say this: how many guys drop out of the All-Star game to the point where Joey Wendell is named an All-Star? So I'm going to say over.
Okay.
Over under 9-time Gold Glove.
Under.
I will also go under. Over under 16-year career.
Boy, it should be over. It should be over.
Yeah, that second contract.
Yeah. He's already playing for the second contract. Exactly.
I will also go over. So, again, great question. And it's something to monitor to see how Wander can do. And, hey, we might have to do another comparison with another great at some point.
This was a tremendous question. So Mr. Hill, thank you so much for bringing it up. And, again, we're only 30. So there's been a lot of baseball before us, and it's really fun to dig into the archives. That's why we're baseball fans, because we also like history. We like the history of the game. We like the players. So this is terrific. And I think if anybody else has an old fandom, maybe they were a Mets fan growing up or whatever you might have been, bring it up. Bring another player comparison. This was really fun to do.
Yeah, it really was fun to do. And just kind of, again, comparing the Silver Sluggers, the All-Stars, the Gold Gloves. Let's also consider the other shortstops that are playing in the American League. I totally forgot about Carlos Correa.
Yep.
I totally forgot about Corey Seager with the Rangers. Xander Bogaerts, we mentioned, Tim Anderson, Bo Bichette. Like there's a lot of good ones out there, and it's not easy to do. But again, I think Wander is doing great things and will continue to do great things. So great question there. And we're always welcome to the questions. LockedOnRays@gmail.com, and we can have another debate or conversation about something like this as well. Thank you for making the Locked On Rays podcast your very first listen every day. Now make your second listen the Locked On MLB podcast that is also free and available on all platforms. Hope you all have a wonderful day. Stay safe, and we will talk to you tomorrow.